And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. It is a Friday, people. Friday. Unfortunately, it's load shedding, so it's Friday, and it's all going to be a bit complicated this weekend. But we are live, and we are talking about the Currie Cup. The Currie Cup final taking place in just over 24 hours down in Kimberley, which is something we probably would have never expected nor predicted a couple of months ago, but it's going to be absolutely epic. And I think that what's going to be quite interesting is the debate surrounding the value of the Currie Cup. And so today I thought we'd talk a little bit about the Currie Cup. I thought we'd talk a little bit about the Springbok press conference that happened yesterday. Um, and maybe the significance of this Currie Cup final within the sort of longer term vision in terms of how this schedule and these competition stuff like that, how they're all going to work in the coming years in terms of how we can get the best from all the different competitions, from all our different unions, and how we can really make the best decisions for South African rugby. So we've got a poll running in the comments which says, who do you think is going to win the Currie Cup final? And it is currently sitting at 50-50, which is pretty down the middle. In fact, no, the Greeks are just taking the lead. So please do go and vote on that poll that we've got. And jump in the comments. Let me know what you think about tomorrow and what you think tomorrow means maybe for South African rugby. Let me know who's in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you're watching this weekend. We do want to go live for later for the SC 20. However, I don't think it's going to be possible because unfortunately, there's load shedding at the end of the day. And unfortunately, because we have moved to stage 4, my backup location has load shedding at the same time as my primary location, which means that, there's literally no place for me to be able to watch it tomorrow. We might have a similar situation, so I'm trying to find a third potential location because we have to obviously go live for the Currie Cup final. But I just don't know what to do with the load shedding and stuff like that because, to power the setup I have is going to cost us an arm and a leg in terms of the type of inverter we need. So we are in the process of trying to secure a couple of sponsors, try and help us out, try and find us a couple of options to take us a little bit off the grid for a couple of hours if we need to, so that we can continue to bring all this stuff to you whenever we do have load shedding and stuff like that. But yeah, we will get there when we get there, I suppose. I see Sebastian Swats in the comments, just only saying good news for the Currie Cup and therefore the world. The final is being shown live tomorrow in the UK on Sky Sports Arena. Well, that is brilliant, isn't it? I know it's also being shown on Flow Rugby, for example. So if you're looking for a place to watch it, you can go watch it on Flow Rugby. I think it's $29 for the month, which is a little bit pricey, but it will include all the internationals. So South Africa versus Wales, England versus Australia, Ireland versus New Zealand, Scotland versus Argentina. All of those will be shown on Flow Rugby. So it could be worth going and investing in it for a month and getting to watch a lot of rugby. But in terms of the Currie Cup, I think that because I definitely took exception with the comments by Gert Small last weekend on the back of losing that semi-final, because I think that it's very he's very much missed the point there, and I think that if we look at what the Currie Cup is now compared to what it was 100 years ago, it's obviously a very different competition. And I think it's far too easy to say that it has been devalued because the URC is happening at the same time. And I think it's very unfair. I think what hurts more, saying that, maybe they should sell the Currie Cup because this isn't the Currie Cup, I think it just takes away from the occasion and puts a bit of a stain on what is going to be the biggest game of those 46 players' lives tomorrow. I mean, we're talking about players who will probably never play for Springboks. They'll probably never play for a URC franchise, for example. They might only be playing professional rugby for a couple of years. They've got an opportunity to play in the Currie Cup final. And you look at the history in the competition, look at the type of people and the type of players, type of teams that have contested a Currie Cup final. It's incredibly special as a competition. And we can't just bullet it in a way of, well, it doesn't mean anything because the URC is happening at the same time. Because it's so much more complicated than that, isn't it? We now live in the professional rugby era, which means that the Griquas and Pumas players tomorrow taking part in the final are professional rugby players. That is their full-time job. if we go back 70, 80 years, rugby wasn't a profession. You weren't a rugby player, and that's the only thing you used to do. So, if we're being very brutally honest and we take away the nostalgia part of it, in many ways, even despite it being maybe second string players, it's probably a higher standard of rugby and a better. Right, sorry, I think we just went down a little bit there. We should be back, so let me know if we are back. Now I lost my train of thought as well. Give me 2 seconds, people. Yeah, with all the load shedding, obviously the internet is, yeah, not at full capacity. But what I was saying, I think the gist of what I'm saying is I think that we live in a professional era, and I think that the Currie Cup for me is probably more competitive in terms of harder to win as a player than it was 30 years ago. And the reason I say that is because there are so many more people playing rugby. It's so much more professional. So you have to be so much better to make a Currie Cup side, let alone make a URC side, let alone make a Springbok side. It's now a professional era where there are so many professional rugby players, but also it just means that whilst there are more opportunities for players, there are so many poor players vying for that opportunity. I mean, you look at Varsity Cup, you look at Varsity Shield, you're looking at the Gold Cup Challenge. There are so many rugby players that to reach the pinnacle of SA Rugby, which is URC and Currie Cup, takes a hell of a lot of talent. So for me, it's far too easy just to say, oh, well, we couldn't name our best 15 Bulls players, and therefore it's been devalued. It's a cop out. It's an easy way to just dismiss all the hard work that these guys have been doing. And I mean, think about tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first time the Pumas will ever be in a Currie Cup final. It's the first time a Greek side will be in the Currie Cup final for over 50 years. So think about what that means for Kimberley. They will be hosting a Currie Cup final for the first time in 50 years. They don't get international rugby. They don't get Springbok matches. Their highlight is the Currie Cup when, Bulls or Stormers or whatever, or Western Province rather, will come and play Currie Cup. That's when they get to see some of the best players in the country because they don't get international games. And digging on beneath that, more than just what it means for the town, Sango Klamlasha is a 23-year-old player who will be leading out the Griquas tomorrow in a Currie Cup final. He is still young enough to be in the Varsity Cup. In fact, the reason that he's captaining tomorrow is because he did so well in the Varsity Cup for and we're still going down again. I mean, midway through it, and I was such a nice tangent, but that's what I'm saying. How special is it that somebody from that kind of background and so early in his career could be potentially lifting the Currie Cup trophy? A trophy that some of the best players in this country's history have lifted. So don't come with this bullshit. It's devaluing the competition. Put the Currie Cup in because this isn't the Currie Cup. It's bullshit. It's far too easy. We're talking about the fact that, for example, SA Rugby are making squads bigger, which means that we will have more players on the Stormers and the Lions and the Sharks and the Cheetahs books than ever before, which means you've got bigger squads. So it now comes down to the bigger unions. Stop complaining. Stop creating excuses. You are allowed to have a squad of up to almost like 50 people. You only need 23 on the weekend. You've got a squad of in your 40s, the amount of players you can contract. Professionally, you can contract. You can have development players as well. Plus your junior structures. It comes down to how you can navigate competitions at different stages. The Lions, Cheetahs, the Lions, Sharks, Bulls, and Stormers will all have to navigate 3 competitions at the same time next year. The Cheetahs will have to do 2 at the same time. And it's not the Griquas and the Pumas' fault if you don't know how to manage a squad and be able to rotate and be able to get the best out of your full extended squad. It's not their problem. It's not their issue. And it's far too easy to sit there saying, well, it's our second team, so it doesn't count. Because your second team are players who, I mean, Morné Steyn was playing Currie Cup throughout the campaign. One of the top point scorers in Springbok history was playing Currie Cup. The Bulls were playing incredibly strong sides during the Currie Cup. So for the Bulls to then come out and say, oh, it's being devalued because they had a URC game the next day and they had to play 2 games in the same weekend, which is not ideal. I know it's not ideal. It's a cop out for me. It's a cop out, and I think you don't do justice to a competition which has meant so much to so many people and will mean so much to so many people tomorrow. I am absolutely ecstatic, and Jacques Nienaber spoke about it yesterday. He said there are no players of national interest in terms of no players on the Springbok spectrum that are playing in the Currie Cup final. And he didn't mean that in that it shows the Currie Cup final is weak. He says how exciting is that the Greek who are teams who struggle to bring in players of the highest quality because, the road to playing professional rugby goes URC, or Currie Cup on a big side, then to URC, and then for Springboks. But all of a sudden, going to the Griquas means you might be able to win a Currie Cup. Going to the Pumas means you might be able to win a Currie Cup. And that adds a whole new element to what these sides can start to do. And I made a video about a year ago saying that how can we fix SA Rugby? And I said that we've got to make sure the Griquas, the Pumas, EP Kings, they are competitive sides, and that it's not just the dominance of the four sides. And I personally think this is the first step towards doing that. Having the prestige of players, young players, who might actually sit there thinking, maybe right now in my career, it's better for me to go to the Griquas for 2 years than it is to go and be a random squad player in the Sharks and get lost within the setup. And that's going to strengthen those unions, but it's also going to strengthen our player database, because suddenly players who might not get an opportunity might have fallen away within the system. I think of something like Ini Radebe, who was incredibly talented and probably could be playing for a URC side when he plays really well. He was almost lost to the system. He almost quit rugby. He actually did quit rugby, then he's come back. For example, going to a Pumas now becomes a viable option for him. Eddie Fischer has been playing fantastic rugby for the Pumas. Willie Engelbrecht has landed a contract with the Stormers. There was rumors that he was part of a Springbok alignment camp. So this would be so big for South African rugby if we can get it right, to the fact that this can become a stepping stone for the Griquas, the Pumas, depending on the EB Elephants or Griffins, whoever wins tomorrow, when they start moving up to the Premiership division. We need to start building our franchise system. And I personally, I would like to move away from being so localized and start having, privatized unions. Because it's just the reality. And if that means there are 3 teams from Johannesburg, that means there are 3 teams from Johannesburg. That doesn't mean you can't have a team from PE, or Gqeberha rather. But why are we limited to having to have a team from Kimberley and not a third team from Johannesburg if you wanted to, for example? The reality, and again, that's not me saying do away with the Griquas, but if you've got the numbers, why can't we have a third side from Johannesburg, given the fact that it's the biggest city in the country? That there are more people in Johannesburg than in like Nelspruit, Kimberley, and even maybe not Bloemfontein, but like some of the major cities combined. Let's be reasonable. But yeah, so I'm just going through some of the common stuff like that. And Matthew Dixon says, Jesse O'Donnell says South Africans might not know, but Currie Cup is respected around the world as the gold standard domestic rugby competition. Australia wish they had the Currie Cup. Well, there we go. Matthew Dixon said, I would love for the Pumas to win. An awesome story. Who is being promoted to the next year's Currie Cup? Well, the Currie Cup first division final is this afternoon, actually. I think it's almost now. And now we have to wait to reconnect. Sorry, we're not going to be able to make a very long show because this is driving me up the wall. And I've sat there shouting my internet provider all entire morning. And it's just wreaking havoc here. But to go through some of the common stuff like that, Mo was saying I was going to wait till next week to reinstall Flow Rugby. Perhaps I'll do it tomorrow for this cup final. Yeah, so I think if you do it tomorrow, it'll cover the entire international season, because the box are the 2nd, 9th, and 16th of July. So if you start tomorrow, the 25th, through to the 25th of July, that'll give you all the international rugby. So I'd recommend doing it. Benedict says, I would have the Currie Cup structure change. All 10 teams other than URC teams play each other, and home and away played in line with the URC. How can we watch the SA Under 20 games on Supersport? No, it will be on it's what was I gonna say? It's on YouTube. It's called the Under 26 Nation Summer Series, and the entire thing is being shown free on YouTube. It's also being shown on the Springbok website. I think it's Springbok.rugby or something like that. So it will be live and free to watch, which is really cool. And I'll be interested to see if this is the start of the end, moving away from a sort of a big broadcast, and we start doing more stuff on YouTube. JB says, I've been thinking SA isn't the only one struggling with 10s. I think Oz, Ireland without Sexton, Scotland without Finn. The main problem is we don't have a standout 10 right now. I haven't seen Alton lately. Yeah, I mean, Alton hasn't played too much because he did a couple of injuries issues, and obviously the Japanese season has been done for a while, so I've got no idea what he's looking like. Hopefully he'll get looking in that third test. But yeah, 10. I mean, look, 10's always a bit of an issue. We've got quite a few young 10s coming through, but they're very young, like your Sachin Komazulu, Jordan Hendricks, Buddha Chamberlain is getting there. I still think he needs to work on his consistency, but there are some very nice, very young 10s. Kate Voliter, Sia Masuku is a nice player as well. But yeah, there is a bit of a gap, isn't there? Most said one time NFL players used to have regular jobs off season. Double says that we have best schoolwear rugby in the world. Currie Cup as a platform for these players to truly be professionals. Pat Lambie in 2010 final was a defining moment. What happened to the Gold Cup? It's a very good question. I don't know what happened because it was quite cool when you could watch club rugby on TV. Chase says, for the people of Nelspruit and Kimberley, this is their biggest sports event in years, 100%.